Hi, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. So, it's time. It is Riverdale time. So the episode, finished about an hour ago, and there's a lot to unfold, a lot to discuss. It was a pretty good episode. Tony still wasn't in it, because I think when they were filming this, she was still on maternity leave. But as we saw in the trailers, she eventually does have a baby. Also, it seems that Fangs and Kevin are still together. But I don't know. I thought they broke up. I'm very confused about that whole situation. A lot of nostalgia. Love a good nostalgia. The trailer for the next episode, I can't wait. I can't wait. Spoiler alert, but it's gonna be another flashback episode. It's gonna be Hiram flashback focused, but we will still see a young Alice, a young Hermione, and a young Hiram. So his son, Hiram's son, will be back to portray him, Michael's Consuelos, and then we will also see an older Hiram's dad, portrayed by Mark Consuelos. So Mark Consuelos will actually be playing Michael Consuelos' father, even though Michael Consuelos is playing a young Hiram. It's very confusing. Didn't state whether young Fred will be shown, or young Penelope, or young Tom. So there's that. But actually, I can't remember. Anyway, we'll get to that tomorrow. I'll record that video tomorrow. I usually was able to record that video during the day, but because I do work on Thursdays now, I will be recording that at night. And also, this video will not be up until about 9 o'clock. I'm going to try to edit it tonight so that it's ready to be posted tomorrow, but I might not be able to. I know it's kind of weird. I haven't posted all week, and then I'm just posting randomly on Thursday. But it's because Riverdale's back, and I completely forgot about it. So, starting from now, every Thursday and Friday there will be 2 videos. I promise to that, because I have to get them out on time. Otherwise, why bother when there's another episode coming out? And then Mondays I'm going to try to get a video out. I know I didn't post one this week. I edited it, but I completely forgot to post it before I went to bed. So it will. I'm saving it for next week. So stay tuned for that. And so it's been a while since I filmed one of these. I can't actually remember when I last filmed. The last episode came out March 31st, so March, April, May, June, July, August. It's been 5 months since I filmed one of these videos. And a lot of episodes could have been produced during that time. So, let's get right into it. I usually start off by showing a little synopsis of the episode, and then I get into explaining it. So, let's start with that. Return to Riverdale. In the aftermath of the prison break at Hiram's jail, Archie leads the charge to round up the remaining convicts on the loose. Tabitha reached out for Betty's help when she realizes Jughead is missing. When Penelope re-enters the fold, Cheryl becomes suspicious of her true intentions. And then we got some pictures. So, let's get right into it. Just like always, I have everything written down, which kind of sucks that I have to do this to remember everything. But otherwise, I'm going to completely forget some things. I also changed my lights. You guys can never see my lights because they're behind me. But they're just little fairy lights that I control with this little thing. They're by West Arrow, I think. I got them at Target. They were like $15, so pretty good. Because I always wanted one because Claire Siobhan uses lights. Mainly for, she uses them a lot during her Not So Berry series. Because every time she changes an air, she changes the colors of her lights. I love this shirt, but it's just not working. I tried a belt, which actually worked, but my dad said it looked weird because it was right under my boob. But anyway, so I changed the color to red. Usually I keep it on like turquoise because I do like that shade. And when I do Not So Very, I'll go by because I can mainly do all the colors of the characters. Let me see if you can actually tell a difference. Okay, so this is no, oh my god, that's no fairy light. So you can actually, yeah, you can see the red flashing on me. And then this is without my ring light. Big difference. I'll turn my, yeah. So that's what the fairy light's on. And this is what it looks like when they're turquoise. That's blue. There. So you can sort of see, you can see the glare on me. So if you are like, why is she like red? It's just my fairy lights. And then my ring light, of course. I use my ring light because my screen was so dark. Don't know why, but my screen was so dark recording. So I got this ring light. And it's the perfect size for my desk. And it's just perfect. And then when I record TikTok videos, I used to have to place my phone in a specific spot. Otherwise, you would catch the glare of my light. You can sort of see it up there. But now with the ring light, it cancels it out, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm totally off track. But yeah, this is Weston Arrow. If you wanted to check that out from Target, $15. They also had a longer one, which I think was also the same price. I just got the 6 foot. So yeah. And maybe one day I'll show it on my TikTok. So anyway, so the episode was called Strange Bedfellows. So it picks up, I mean, it's supposed to pick up right after last season ended, but it kind of seems like it didn't because they kind of throw shade at the pandemic. But the school has been destroyed, and it's going to take a while for them to rebuild the school. And Alice makes a remark about, back to distance learning. Or remote learning. She doesn't say distance. She says remote learning. Back to remote learning. So kind of throwing shade. Anyway. So Ronnie has returned from New York. And she brings with her she has delivered a blue opal, which is going, and she has a buyer ready to buy it, and it's going to help her pay back Chad's investors, because as we found out, he basically put a whole bunch of money in her name and made some bad choices, and now she could be facing jail time. And he threatens that with her if she tries to divorce him. So she has to pay back the investors before she can divorce Chad. And then Ronnie just now learns about the prison break. So Archie tells Veronica that he has to keep his distance from her until she divorces Chad. And Veronica doesn't tell him what went down in New York. All that Chad did something that she doesn't want to get Archie involved in. Understandable. So it's their job now to round up the convicts that are terrorizing the town, the ones that were not caught, because as we know, Chick and Charles were caught because they decided to go to Alice's house. It turns out Penelope was up for early parole because she started a ministry in prison. And this is where the episode got super weird, her ministry. So Tabitha ends up calling Betty to tell her that Jughead is missing. And Betty says that's not my problem, but Tabitha's like, but I don't know where he is. And there's a part of Betty that still cares deeply for him, and a lot of people believe that they are getting back together. I'm one of those people that believe that Jughead and Betty are destined to be together. He was the most honest with her. He never judged her for anything she did until she slept with Archie. And I think it's been revealed that they're getting back together because there was an article that was released after Archie and Veronica got back together, which shocked everyone because I thought Betty and Jughead would definitely get back together first. So then a robber comes into Pops, but then someone walks in. It looks like it's Penelope, but I don't think it was. I'm not sure though anymore. And so he turns to look who comes in, and Tabitha hits him over the head. He wasn't a very good robber. So he is put in the hospital after being hit, but he will be going back to prison. He was one of the escapees. So then we flash to Veronica in her jewelry store, and she is talking with, I guess, the investor, the buyer that wants to buy the opal. And Dodger and his mother come in. Oh my god, I hate them. They are the epitome of white trash. And they start smashing up her jewelry store and rob her, and then they take the opal. I kind of like that they brought them back, even though I hate Dodger and his mom. I like that they brought them back because that, like, occurred 7 years ago. And Veronica actually mentions, are you the people who ruined Thanksgiving dinner 7 years ago? So, yeah. Archie, Fangs, and Kevin are cleaning up the school. And that's all I wrote down for that. But then then they watch something on TV where Hiram, who is the one who made the prison break happen, is offering a reward for anyone who can find the escaped convicts. And he wants to be depicted as a hero, basically, is why he's doing that. So Julie, we find out, Governor Dooley is actually on Hiram. Hiram promised him, what did he promise him? He promised him, I wrote it down somewhere, Pinoleum. I think that's what they called it. Promised him Pinoleum. If he helped him, but it's not really clear about what he helped him with, but apparently he was not in on the prison break. So Ronnie eventually calls Reggie to come to her jewelry store, and she needs her help. So to get the opal. So then we finally find out why Reggie is working for Hiram and why he betrayed his friends, which I'm glad they gave it a good reason, because if he just decided to become Hiram's lackey and betray his friends after everything Hiram put them through. But it turns out that his father made some bad investments and Hiram helped them out, and now Reggie is working off his father's debts. And that's when we get the scene where Veronica says, "Come back to the good side," and Reggie's like, "But the bad side pays better." But he will help find the opal for old time's sakes. So then we flash to the hospital where Sheriff Keller walks in on a nurse giving meds to the escapee prisoner patient. And it turns out it's Dodger's mom, and she was giving him something to kill him. They never go back to that, but then she beats up Sheriff Keller. So then we flash to finally seeing Jughead. And he has ended up somewhere, but he's warming himself on a fire, and then he gets beat up by some passerbyers. So then we get a mention of Mary, which I like. No mention of Vegas, which I don't think we're ever going to see Vegas again, because honestly, at this point, Vegas probably would have died. I hate to say it, but Archie got Vegas when he was a little kid, and Vegas was already an adult dog when the show began, so most likely Vegas didn't live. But Mary is going to help Frank get an early release for helping them, because he also helped them when the prison break occurred. So Betty and Tabitha go to the bunker, and they find Jughead's manuscript. They start reading it, and then they Betty calls Jessica, and Jessica's like, oh my god, I have so many questions for you, Betty. Like, feels like I know you. So Jessica says that she's gonna come. She has ulterior motives, but we'll get into that. So I wrote Penelope's crazy. That's all you really need to know. She's holding her ministry, and she's just like chanting about Jason, and it's just also weird. So Archie ends up finding most of the prisoners except for Dodger and his mom, and then someone else who we will get to in one hot second. But Reggie also bursts in with Veronica, of course, and the guys and Reggie and Veronica decide to join forces together to try to beat the bad guys. Because even though Reggie is on Hiram's side, I think he's still secretly on Riverdale's side, because during the football game against Stonewall Prep, he sat with Riverdale. I mean, that was when Hiram fired him, but he still had his Leatherman jacket, so that was really sweet. So we then flash to Jughead again. He was saved by a guy named Doc. Now, this didn't make sense at first until we were shown a flashback. So Doc is actually someone from Jughead's past. When Jughead was attending Stonewall Prep, he told a story to the preppies about how he met this guy named Doc, and he stayed awake all night so that he wouldn't get beaten up, but one day he did get beaten up, and Jughead just stood there watching. I don't know how old Jughead was at the time of the story. I want to say he was a teenager, and it was when he had run away from home, because his dad was a serpent again, but I don't know. So he doesn't want Doc to know who he is, so he does lie about his name. He says he's Henry. Okay, so then we see Ted. Now, Ted is the guy who Archie fought in the bathroom, who was sent to kill Fred. He was a monetary, something like that. And he threatens Hiram, and he wants the Pinoleum because Hiram promised it to him or something. And then he calls Dooley, lies to Dooley, or Hiram calls Dooley, lies to him, says the Pinoleum, so that Ted can get Dooley. So Jessica has arrived, and they're searching all over. So it turns out Jughead was not living in Archie's house anymore. Now, this part's a little confusing, because I don't remember him ever moving out. I wonder if he just sometimes didn't live inside Jughead's house. But it kind of looks like he's living in Jughead's garage. So maybe Jughead's old army buddy moved into Jughead's house. Archie's house, and Jughead took the garage. Still kind of uncertain. So Ted and Dodger and Darla are holding Hiram, Keller, and Dooley hostage. And eventually they shoot Dooley, but he lives. So Jessica's ulterior motives is she just wants the manuscript because she doesn't want her parents and her friends to find out what kind of person she was in New York. And then she proceeds to act like she's becoming friends. Or no, so before I get to that, she asks the girls if they want to do mushrooms, and they decide not to. So eventually Doc is getting beat up, and Jughead comes to his rescue and hits the guy beating him up over the head. Now, I was in the middle of doing something when this happened, so I thought Jughead also fell and was hit. But after watching the end of the episode, I don't think that's what happened. So I have no idea. But they were safe. They were fine. So now it's ambush time. The boys and Veronica end up getting the safe off, and they figure out a plan of how to get the hostages. So then we find out that Cheryl, if she couldn't get any more creepy, when she was keeping Jason's body in the house, she's keeping his skeleton in the house. Why are we doing Cheryl dirty? Like, come on, aren't we done with Cheryl being this way? Like, can we please move on from that? Like, really? So when Betty and Tabitha are with Jessica, they're talking about Jughead, and forget everything that happened, but Betty ends up playing a voicemail that Jughead left her 2 years ago. So it turns out that Betty was supposed to go to Jughead's release party, and she never showed up, as he stated that he wouldn't see his friends for 7 years. And so he proceeds to go off on her, saying that he can't believe she did this. He knew that she was a horrible person, especially, and she always was, and especially after she slept with his best friend, blah, blah, blah. I think this was after Jessica said to Betty that you did the worst thing you could to Jughead by hurting both him and Veronica. No, by hurting him sleeping with his best friend. And in Jughead's message, he said that she did the worst thing to him and Veronica. We also find out that at that time Jessica was actually living with Jughead, and it turns out that the relationship is pretty good. I mean, she's a writer too, but then the due date started coming, and it was just too much. So we find out that Jessica actually has dosed the girls with mushrooms. The only reason that Jughead had a bad reaction is because he was most likely taking another drug. And she's just there for the manuscript. She really just wants the manuscript. So Betty gives it to her eventually. And then we have singing. We do get a new song. It is a weird song. It's very musical episode-esque, which we're supposedly supposed to be getting a musical episode this season. It wasn't a bad song, but so Veronica comes to the rescue, and then the boys are breaking, and a fight ensures. But I mean, everyone ends up winning. The good guys win, including Reggie, who is technically a good guy, and at this point, Hiram's a good guy. So during the song, Cheryl has come to her mother's ministry. I mean, she's come to it after going to visit Jason's remains. And then while singing and becoming a part of this ministry, which they just need to know, Tony needs to snap Cheryl back to reality, which Tony wasn't in this episode. I think she's still on maternity leave. But she has a vision of Jason, so Jason was in this episode. Veronica ends up getting her opal back, and Frank is going to be receiving a full pardon. So I expect we will be seeing a lot more of Frank. I do like that they added Frank and that they're giving him a bigger part, especially after Fred died. And I think him becoming a father figure to Archie is really good, even though Archie's an adult. But so Veronica promises Archie that she will get a fast divorce so that they can be together. And then Hiram tells Dooley that he's getting no penoleum. So Jughead is finally better and everything. And Doc figured out who Jughead was early on. And he doesn't blame Jughead for what happened all those years ago, because Jughead was just a kid. So Jughead tells him that before he can go home, because he tells him to go home, he needs to figure out what his hallucinations and visions mean. And why can't he remember what happened in New York all those years ago. And I really hope it's not aliens. I kind of hope he witnessed a murder. Like the trash bag killer. Or the lonely highway killer or something. I want that to be the end result. Sorry, my shirt, like, is the fake buttons except for the bottom one. Sorry, I'm, like, distracted. So the girls, Tabitha and Betty, finally are coming down from the mushrooms. And it seems like they're becoming friends, and I really am there for the relationship. And I'm kind of glad that Tabitha turned Jughead down. And I don't think Tabitha likes Jughead. I really don't. After seeing her spend time with Betty and rethinking about everything that we're doing, I don't think she likes Jughead. I think she's really just trying to help him. So I do think that Betty and Tabitha can become friends, and Betty and Jughead can get back together without Tabitha being jealous. So Tabitha tells Betty that she also wants to help her find the missing girls. Also, do we know that Squeaky, I think was her name, is Squeaky actually dead? Did they find her body? I can't remember. But she was the girl that we saw a couple episodes ago that was running for her life. And I do like the mystery this season. Not the alien mystery, but the mystery of the killers. Because it's very much old school Riverdale. Back, like, season 1 Riverdale was fine. Season 4 Riverdale was also good because it was another murder that they were investigating. The aliens, not my cup of tea. I really hope they're not really aliens. And as we remember, that Tabitha isn't just a waitress. She was she worked a corporate life before deciding to drop it all to come back to Pops. Now, the description that they give for Tabitha when we first find out that she's coming is that she comes to Riverdale to try to convince her grandfather to franchise Pops. That's never happened. I mean, that makes sense for a corporate girl. But that never happens, and she ends up taking over for Pop because he retires. I don't know if we're ever going to see that. I mean, a lot of times a description we're given for a character ends up not being the correct description because they end up going in a different way. But, yeah, so Tabitha... Betty agrees to allow Tabitha to help her find these girls. So Jughead finally calls Tabitha, and he says that he is heading to New York to try to figure it out. Now, it's funny to think that Jughead was in New York, and so was Betty, so he's heading to New York, and he's hitchhiking, and he is picked up by a truck, and this so happens to be the same truck that was chasing down Squeaky and Polly. So Jughead has come face to face, or we assume he has come face to face with the Lonely Highway Killer. And that's everything that happened in that episode. Now, I have a lot of thoughts about what's going to happen. I honestly, also, whatever happened to Glenn? Like, is he still with Betty? I really don't know. I really hope Betty and Jughead get back together. I do think they are going to get to, even if it's not this season, I definitely think that before the show ends, they will get back together. Same with Archie and Veronica, and I swear, if the show ends, because the show has been renewed for a 6th season, if you didn't know, and I believe they will also be getting a 7th. I think they have signed contracts for 2 more years. So they haven't been renewed for a 7th yet, but they have been renewed for a 6th. And I know, even though you sign a contract for a certain amount of years, your show can get canceled any time between there, because on Degrassi, they had been picked up for 4 seasons of Next Class, and they 2 more seasons of Next Class, and they didn't get them. So one thing I hope that the finale does is a time jump. I want the final episode of Riverdale to be a time jump. Show us Betty and Jughead, and Archie and Veronica, and Tony and Cheryl, and Fangs and Kevin as parents. That's what I want to see. I would love to see them all as parents, raising their kids in a happy town of the newly created Riverdale with Veronica as mayor. She would make a great mayor. But I used to think that Glenn was the trash bag killer, because he is still a killer that's out there. But I don't know. I definitely think the Lonely Highway Killer and the trash bag killer are connected in some way. I don't know how, but I do think they're connected. So, that is basically everything that has happened. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And tomorrow we will be diving into next week's trailer. So, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and go ahead and follow me on TikTok, where I post almost every single day and have almost 900 followers. And my username is my first dot, my last name, 9816. You can find it in my YouTube description. So go check that out, and I will see you all next time. Bye!